Okay, so you know how sometimes, like, there are these certain dates on the calendar and it feels like everyone's kind of holding their breath, waiting for something big to happen?
Yeah, definitely. Like a palpable sense of anticipation.
Well, it feels like that's happening right now in the blockchain world.
Hmm.
And one name that seems to be at the heart of all the buzz, it's BlockDAG.
BlockDAG.
So for today's deep dive, we've been gathering all this information about BlockDAG, really trying to understand what's driving all the excitement.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
Definitely. We've got some upcoming announcements to go through, this big testnet launch they're planning. You can think of that as kind of a real-world trial run of their technology. Plus, there's a Keynote event that they're billing as something pretty extraordinary.
Ah,
Oh, and there's even a special bonus offer for early birds.
right. And the aim of this deep dive, then, is to give everyone listening a clear picture of what BlockDAG is all about and why it might be worth paying attention to.
Absolutely.
Got it. So, from what I've seen, there's definitely a sense of build-up they've created. Like the countdown timers, those visuals of all the blockchain nodes connecting, it's all very sleek, very futuristic, and it's definitely designed to grab your attention.
You're right. And the message they seem to be pushing is that March is BlockDAG's moment to really show what they can do.
Yeah. It seems like March is their make or break month.
Yeah, exactly. The materials we've been going through really emphasize this idea of a pivotal moment. They keep mentioning March as their biggest month. And like you said, there are all these compelling visuals, the ticking clock, the network glowing, all designed to make you feel like something big is about to change.
It makes you wonder what they have planned that justifies this level of hype.
It really does. So they've outlined a sequence of events, specific dates, that seem to be really crucial to their whole strategy. And the first one that jumps out is March 20th.
March 20th.
Yes, they've marked that as the date for a live AMA, Ask Me Anything, with the BlockDAG leadership team.
Oh, okay, an AMA.
Yeah. And it doesn't sound like it's just going to be a casual Q&A. They're saying it'll be a chance to get the inside scoop on some pretty major developments.
Really? And what sorts of developments are we talking about here?
Well, specifically, they're tying this AMA to two things. One is their upcoming testnet launch, and the other is something they're calling a Hollywood-produced keynote.
Hollywood produced, huh? That's interesting. Seems like they're investing a lot in how they're presenting themselves.
Yeah, it is a pretty grand statement. And then, of course, there's that bold claim that this is the most important moment in blockchain history.
Wow. The most important moment. That's quite a statement. You can't help but wonder what kind of information they think they're going to reveal that could justify that kind of pronouncement.
I know, right? It definitely gets your attention.
It does. So March 20th. Got it. Anything else in the timeline?
Yeah, actually. So a little over a week later, March 28th, we have another key date.
March 28th.
Yeah,
Okay, what's happening then?
that's when the BlockDAG testnet is supposed to go live.
The testnet. Now, for those who maybe aren't as familiar with the world of blockchain, can you explain what a testnet is and why it's so important?
Sure. So basically, a testnet is like a testing environment for a blockchain project. It lets developers and also potential users try out the technology, see if it works as expected, before the actual main network launches.
So it's where the theory meets the real world?
Exactly. It's that crucial stage where a project goes from being just an idea to being a tangible piece of technology that people can actually interact with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the materials really stress this point. They talk about the testnet as proving this isn't just an idea, it's a reality.
So they're putting a lot of emphasis on demonstrating that their project is viable, that it actually works.
Exactly. And this testnet launch on March 28th, it's not happening in isolation. It's actually being coordinated with the release of that Hollywood-produced keynote we mentioned earlier.
Oh, so they're happening at the same time. That's interesting. It sounds like they're taking a two-pronged approach here. Showing off the technology on one hand, and on the other hand, presenting this very polished, maybe even more accessible narrative about their overall vision for BlockDAG.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's a fascinating strategy. Technical validation combined with really high-end marketing. And one thing that stood out to me was this phrase they use about wanting to bring blockchain mainstream with this keynote.
Mainstream. That suggests they're trying to reach a much wider audience, not just the people who are already deeply involved in the crypto world.
Yeah, I think so too.
And if we think about the bigger picture here, this kind of approach makes sense, right? For blockchain to really become widely adopted, it needs both a strong technical foundation and clear, compelling communication that can resonate with a much broader audience.
Absolutely. And that Hollywood-produced aspect, definitely suggests that they're putting a lot of effort into the storytelling, trying to capture people's imaginations, maybe even people who wouldn't normally pay much attention to blockchain.
Okay, so we've got those big dates. March 20th for the AMA, March 28th for the Testnet launch, and the Keynote. Now, what about this BDAG 800 bonus they keep mentioning?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So this seems to be a major part of their current promotional push.
Yeah.
They're really playing up this bonus as a big incentive.
So what is it exactly?
Well, they describe it as a massive 400% reward.
Wow, 400%. That's a huge percentage. Clearly designed to encourage early participation and investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the language they use around it is all about creating a sense of urgency. They keep saying it's for early adopters who act now. Time is running out. The bonus is slipping away.
Classic FOMO, right? Yeah. Fear of missing out.
Yeah, exactly. They're really tapping into that feeling of not wanting to miss out on a potentially very lucrative opportunity.
Which, to be fair, is a pretty common tactic in the world of emerging technologies. The idea is to create a sense of urgency, encourage people to make decisions more quickly by highlighting the potential for big returns. So, okay, we've covered the big events coming up in March and this bonus offer. What else does the material tell us about where BlockDAG stands right now and what their vision for the future is?
Right, so one really interesting piece of information is that they've reportedly raised $203 million in their presale.
$203 million. Wow. So just to clarify, a presale is basically an early opportunity to buy a project's tokens or coins before they become widely available, right?
Exactly. And raising that much capital during the presale is a really strong indicator that there's a lot of financial backing and belief in the project's potential.
Definitely. That kind of funding means that a lot of people are already putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak. It's a strong vote of confidence.
I agree. And they also talk about having a thriving global community.
Which is another important factor for any blockchain project, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A strong community can provide valuable feedback, help with development, and ultimately play a key role in driving wider adoption.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And based on the materials, it seems like BlockDAG is very aware of this. They even project that they're poised to become the most talked about project in blockchain.
The most talked about? Okay, so they're setting the bar pretty high for themselves.
They are. They seem to be aiming for that snowball effect, where increasing visibility leads to even more attention and hopefully wider adoption.
Yeah, I see that. And then they end with this very direct question to the listener. Will you lead or watch from the sidelines?
Yeah, it's a very clear call to action. They're basically saying, this is a crucial moment, and you need to decide whether you want to be an early participant or just watch as things unfold.
Interesting. So let's do a quick recap for our listener.
Okay, good idea. So BlockDAG is gearing up for what they're calling their biggest month, with a lot happening in March. The first big date is March 20th. That's when they'll be holding a live AMA, promising to share insights into their testnet launch and that Hollywood-produced keynote we talked about.
Right.
Then on March 28th, the BlockDAG testnet goes live. And that coincides with the release of their big keynote event. And all of this is happening while they're pushing this BDG 800 bonus, a big reward for early adopters, with the message that this offer won't be around forever.
Yep.
They're really presenting themselves as a major player in the blockchain space. They've raised a lot of money in their pre-sale. They say they have a growing community, and their goal, as we've seen, is to become a leading and widely talked about project.
Okay, so they've laid out a pretty clear roadmap for March. Lots of events, lots of hype, and of course the big question is, will the technology, will the actual execution live up to all of this?
Yeah, that's the key question. It's easy to make bold claims, but will they deliver?
Right. But what's clear is that they're putting a lot of effort into attracting attention and positioning themselves for growth in the blockchain world.
They definitely are.
And, this brings up a really important point for all of us who are following this space. I mean, think about it. There are so many new projects popping up all the time in the blockchain world, so many new technologies and potential opportunities.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
It can be. So what are the key things that you look for when you're trying to decide whether to get involved with a new project or a new technology? Is it the technical roadmap, the strength of the community, the quality of their communication and marketing? I mean, what are the factors that you prioritize and how do you weigh them when you're making these kinds of decisions?
Those are excellent questions. It's a complex landscape and it's constantly evolving. So having a clear framework for evaluating these new projects is crucial.
It is, because ultimately the goal is to find the projects that have real potential, the ones that are going to make a genuine impact.
Absolutely.
And that's a challenge we all face as we try to navigate this exciting and often very confusing world of blockchain.
Well said. That's a great point to end on. Thanks for diving into this with me today.
My pleasure. It's always a fascinating discussion.
And to all our listeners out there, keep those questions in mind. Do your research, be critical, and most importantly, stay informed.